I saw something earlier today that was, I have to say, pretty shocking to me, actually, regarding the ongoing genocide in Gaza. It's the average Gaza resident since January has been forced to survive on roughly 245 calories a day. Now, for those who don't count your calories, roughly 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day is what you're supposed to, take in human beings on a regular basis. And the average person in Gaza over the past several months since January has been forced to subsist on average 245 calories a day.
That's insane. 245 calories is literally like 2 eggs and a coffee
Yes.
with milk.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
that's like barely a meal. I mean, that's actually, I don't even know if that, like, that's insane. That's an insane statistic. I'm also sure you saw the latest news, Eugene, that Biden had his phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu and said, according to the White House, like, statement
yeah.
afterwards, he emphasized that the strikes on humanitarian workers and the overall humanitarian situation are unacceptable. And he made clear the need for Israel to announce and implement. Okay, that's blah, 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 blah. But he also said that if this continues or if harm to civilians continues, he will consider in the future leveraging military aid. But it's like still so vague and unclear. I still don't think that's going to happen. Meanwhile, AIPAC has organized this trip of all these Republican members of Congress who visited Benjamin Netanyahu today and did like a press conference.
Amazing.
And it's just completely insane. I mean, and of course, like the world is rightfully outraged that these humanitarian aid workers from all these different countries were killed. But like, I can't help but wonder, I know the answer to this, Eugene, but why did it take, like, why is there more outrage? I should put, why is there more outrage over the killing of this handful of international humanitarian aid workers? There's more outrage for that than the killing of over 30,000 Palestinians in Gaza, including like 180 Palestinian humanitarian aid workers who have been killed. I'm just like, this is too far. And I'm glad it's too far. It should be too far. But you know what should have been too far? The killing of 1,000 children, 2,000 children, 10,000 children, 15,000 children in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the level of dehumanization and the cheapness for Palestinian and Arab life is on full display right now. It has been for almost 6 months. 6 months.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just now getting angry, but
No, you were right on. I mean, it really is amazing for 6 months. I mean, 33,000 people have died. I mean, yeah, I mean, it really, and of course, it's obviously more than that when we talk about people who are under the rubble. And quite frankly, obviously death is the worst possible scenario, but I think it's important to also remember that a lot of the injuries, which I think are well over 70,000, are, totally and completely life-altering injuries. It's not as if people, like cuts and scrapes, it's people losing both feet and an arm, both hands, being totally covered in burns. I saw one of the worst picture of his young boy is totally covered in burns, his entire torso. But I think, vis-a-vis the issue what you're saying about World Central Kitchen, I think it's a good point. I mean, I'll make one slight edit to that, which is that it's overwhelming the outrage in the West. And I think that speaks to one of the most important things about America and Europe is that people are so insulated and have been so inundated for basically your entire life with this sense of otherness, like these other people outside of there, that even when you feel bad about it or upset or you think it's tragic or whatever it may be, of which there are obviously many, many millions of people in America and Europe who feel that way, tens of millions of people, that you still feel like one step removed from it. And I think when this World Central Kitchen thing happens, it reminds people of what a lot of other people around the world feel, who, especially people who live in countries that are frequently targeted, by Israel, by the United States, that like, yeah, it can be anybody at any time under any circumstance, that these people are totally brutal, totally, just every negative thing I could possibly say. And I think you can sort of know it intellectually, but this is one of those things that I think for a lot of people, and I think to your point, I think it's very unfortunate. And I think it's something that people in the United States and Europe should think a lot about. Like, how come when U.S. soldiers die, it seems a war seems worse than when there's no boots on the ground, right? But I do think it's that conditioning, and it shows how much dehumanization in between the wars and the conflicts goes on in this country with how we describe Palestinians, how we describe Arabs, how we describe Muslims, and how affected so many people have been that it takes something like this to cause a lot of people to be like, whoa, this is like totally out of control.
Yeah, or it takes like a white person saying it. And I mean, this is something to maybe dissect later because I do appreciate like white people getting up and saying it if that's what it takes to move people and to make them understand. But it's just incredibly frustrating and it does speak to the fact that you're right. Like everybody's just been conditioned to see these people as killable and like they die. That's just normal. It's normal for Palestinians to be killed and to die. It's normal for Arabs to be killed and to die. It's normal for like everybody in the global south to just be killable and to die in all kinds of horrific, atrocious ways. And yeah, it's just, just 15,000 children,
Yeah.
15,000 children, 10 children a day, Eugene, have amputations.
Yeah.
A limb is amputated. 10 children a day. That's 70 children a week.
Mm.
Like, that's a crazy number of children having amputations. Amputations. And you're right, life-altering injuries, like those, their lives are never going to be normal. And they're never, well, I don't want to say normal, but they're never going to be the same. And they're probably not going to get the care they need because the one prosthetics hospital in Gaza was taken out by the Israelis.
Yes.
I'm sure there was some excuse about Hamas was there. Hamas is apparently everywhere, including in every single car that the aid workers were in, all three of them. The Israelis
including the
tried
car
to claim.
with the aid workers that they told Israel what they were doing. I mean, it just everything about it. It's like they told you exactly where they were going. Obviously, they went on some sort of mission, but like there's also a flip side to that coin that, and I've seen some aid workers speaking out about this, that when you were giving out aid, you were giving out aid to whoever is needed. So you were going to work with whoever the most effective authority figure is to make sure that your aid being given out is being given out effectively. Now, I'm not saying that Hamas is working with them or anything like that. I don't want to make that accusation, but I think whether we're talking about Afghanistan, whether we're talking about Gaza, whether we're talking about Iraq, whether we're talking about Libya, or any of these, Sudan right now, any of these other places, the people who are trying to deliver the aid are trying to get the food to people the best way they can, in the most fair way they can, the most equitable way they can, which means that obviously they need to organize that. They are not a government, right? Aid workers are not a government. They're just there providing a service. So somebody has to help, secure the scene. I mean, I don't know. Just the fact that that's even considered illegitimate. Like say Hamas was in the car. Say they were there where they were giving out the food. Well, I mean, they're the elected government of Gaza. So is it that surprising that the elected government would be trying to facilitate aid going out in the area in which they control? And why does that all of a sudden make the aid deliveries, the aid workers, the aid delivery system, like why does that make it okay to assault them? I mean, it's just like if there was an earthquake in Israel, you know what I'm saying? And there was an earthquake in Israel and the Red Cross was there and somebody launched a missile and killed the Red Cross, delivering aid to people in Israel somewhere. The Israeli government would be up in arms,
Yep. Well, it's also, I mean, that's because the entire point is to prevent aid from going in. I mean, after this intentional killing that the Israelis think we're stupid enough to believe wasn't intentional, after these intentional murders, you had the UAE cancel whatever aid that they were facilitating into the Strip. You had a few other organizations because they can't guarantee the safety of the people facilitating it. And that was the point. Like, we know that Israel, as Yoav Gallant said early on, wants to starve the so-called quote human animals in Gaza, right? And so how do you make sure everybody starves? You prevent any aid from going in. And it doesn't matter where that aid is coming from, even if it's coming from people who are actually pro-Israel. In the case of this organization, I mean, the leader of it was basically a pro-Israel guy. And what's so insane now is he's rightfully angry that his workers, who he was coordinating with the Israeli army to get in and out safely, and they still got murdered. Because he's upset about that and he was like making statements about that, you've got all these crazy like pro-Israel fanatics accusing him of a blood libel. I don't know if you saw this, but they're accusing him of a blood libel and of being anti-Semitic and all kinds of things. And I'm like, dude, this guy was like on your side.
100%.
Israel literally, will kill people. They will do anything to enforce their disgusting famine policy, including kill people who are on their side.
Yeah, well, I saw someone on Twitter. I'm trying to remember who this was. I think it was Dr. Stephen Thrasher. I don't know. I like to give people credit when I say something, but he made a really good point about this. And he said the attack on World Central Kitchen is like the postcards they used to make of lynching, that would circulate in communities, that it's deliberately designed to send a message about who's in control, who's not in control, and that you too will be targeted if you step out of line. And I thought that was a really good parallel. I mean, because I think, obviously the context of lynchings and, extrajudicial punishments, collective punishments of a whole community is relevant. But in terms of the warning aspect of it, I think it's very important. And it really is amazing. And you were right. I had seen the news of Biden and Netanyahu's call that it barely lasted 30 minutes. And I feel like that in and of itself was leaked to be like, oh, Biden's really angry, and they couldn't get on the same page. But it's interesting to me, and John Kirby came out subsequently afterwards and said that what they would like to see and what they are hoping to see is a drastic increase in humanitarian aid over the next several days. Now, of course, that means nothing, because what is a drastic increase? I mean, when you're going up from like basically nothing, almost anything can be a drastic increase, even if it's totally inadequate. But on top of that, it's just like everything about this is so ridiculous. I mean, obviously the U.S. has a huge amount of leverage. They're about to send them billions more dollars in aid and weapons. All they have to do is say, well, you can either do X or we will just cut off all money and weapons, and things will start to happen very quickly. So the fact that the Biden administration is trying to act as if they care about this when the whole world is fully aware of the fact that they have leverage. And I mean, it's becoming, the mask is being ripped off, and I think the implications of this are still so unknown. I mean, I saw even Jon Favreau, the Obama aide guy, the crooked media guy, whatever him and the other guy are who do the podcast, that liberals love. Obviously, I'm not a liberal, I'm a communist, so I can't remember the other guy's name nor the name of the podcast. But he basically
Saves America.
Yes, Pod Saves America.
God, and name, yeah.
John Favreau made this point yesterday. I saw a couple days ago in response to a Politico article. He was like, the president does not get any credit for being quote unquote angry when he does not do anything whatsoever to put any pressure or use any leverage to stop them. So I say that to say, wow, if even like the most mainstream of mainstream Democratic Party people are seeing it, if even like the New York Times is having to have headlines that's like, but will he use his leverage? I mean, it's so hollow. And the fact that they're even doing it, I did see someone else say that Baghdad Bob has nothing on John Kirby. Now, whatever, take that as you will. But it's becoming so almost cartoonish how callous they have become, how transparently false they have become. And when we talk about the implications for this in the elections, I think it's very significant because there are a lot of things that motivate people. And I think there are probably a lot of people who, they see Trump, they see some of the just insane things that he's saying, his policies, which are obviously terrible in every possible way. And they're thinking, I just don't know if I can not vote for Biden. Like I'm upset, I'm mad about this. But, then when you look at it like this, it's almost like you look at the Biden administration people talking, and it's like they're putting their middle finger up at you. I mean, it's like they just basically just like they don't care. 75% of Democrats say they want a ceasefire. So it may be one thing if you say, well, we're trying and we couldn't get it. But then to do this, like just this unbelievable theater that they do every day in these press conferences, I think that is as damaging as anything else, because even some people who are on the fence with them, I think will feel like, no, they need to be taught a lesson in this election, because you can't just ignore 75% of us who are saying you have to change policy and just have your spokespeople sticking up their middle finger at us every single day. It can't be done. But, you can still have Hillary Clinton out giving press conferences. I don't know if you saw this, or interviews. And she said, everyone who's upset with Biden just has to get over it. Well, as Stephen A. Smith said on CNN, how'd that work out for her in 2016?
I mean, it's amazing they're even letting her go out and talk, given that she basically said, get over yourselves to anybody who's like, I don't want to vote for either of these people. And I think it's amazing the level of entitlement of Democrats. But I want to read a tweet before we open to our first guest. I do want to read a tweet from, I guess we can call her friend of the show, comedian Kate Willett, who's excellent. She tweeted the following: centrist Democrats will really be like, Biden is funding the most progressive genocide in United States history. And I think she's absolutely right. I mean, that's exactly what we're going to end up hearing is like, and I think we've already heard versions of that is, oh, like you're upset with Biden's policy. Imagine what Trump's would be. Oh, would Trump's policy be genocide, you guys? Because it's already happening. Anyway.
No, it's true. I mean, I'll just add my one final thing. I actually did see someone on CNN say that to justify voting for Biden. They
Oh,
said Trump would
oh
level
god.
Gaza. And I just thought, I mean, they're leveling
What
Gaza right now. Like, what are you
I
even
mean, like,
talking
yeah,
about?
what are
Like,
they
it was like a fantasy world. And the woman, I don't even know who she was, some completely random person, one of these talking heads. She was so confident when she said it too. And I just thought, wow, I really just hope the check is clearing because you could not be more idiotic on purpose. But
you should
that's,
have clipped that,
I should have. I could probably find it. It was so dumb it has to be rocketing around the internet.
like,
Like,
juxtapose it to the images of Gaza having been leveled.
where you been, buddy?